I had a viral video on Instagram
Yeah.
that got 30 million views.
Like every video kind of slaps at this point. Like you can buy like a preset, you can buy a light.
I do ask for more money if it's a tight turnaround because of the inconvenience they're giving me.
It's also business. Like if you want to have a successful freelance business, you do need to look at your analytics. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm very, very happy to be here.
Good.
I guess let's start with the introduction. What's your name and what type of content do you create?
So I'm Kavita and I do fashion content with a focus on sustainability and thrifting.
Amazing.
What is your name and what type of content do you create?
My name is Teja and I create, I guess, engaging and dynamic content for brands like Sony and Artlist. And I also host a podcast.
Amazing.
And I'm part of a UK shooters team, and we also host like photo and video events around the UK.
Oh, cool, I love that.
I guess what led you to start creating and what has been your experience so far?
So I started creating before Instagram was even around. So
Okay.
I had a blog, I was on Tumblr.
Yeah.
I think I even started creating before Twitter was even around.
Oh,
I definitely was one of the OG kind of like influencers before it was even a word.
Yeah.
So I started creating because I didn't have friends at school and I started when I was 16.
Okay.
So my story is very different to a lot of people's. It wasn't the glamour or wanting to get free things or any of those things. I started because I didn't have many friends and I connected with other people online, and it just honestly just happened quite organically.
I love that. Very good.
What led you to start creating, and what has been your experience so far?
Well, I guess I used to watch a lot of YouTubers, like especially some based in the UK, like Joe Sag and Casper Lee.
Oh my god, yeah.
Big fan of their friendship, and I just thought that was super cool. And then I got my first camera, I think, when I was 15. Kind of like started taking photos. My best friend was really good model, so I was behind the camera, she was in front of the camera, and it was like a really good combination, and that's kind of how I learned about photography. And then I transitioned into video because I found it a little bit more like challenging, and with that also a bit more exciting, and I guess also the money was a little bit better, right? And then when I moved to London, just kind of to start my career really, because in Slovenia, where I'm from originally, I was basically doing everything for free. And then I wanted to move here to pursue my career. Yeah. So, off the top of your head, what's your favorite brand collaboration in a few words, and why?
It's very difficult, but probably Vinted, because it's like a company I already talked about so much, being like a very thrifty and secondhand marketplace. And it was my favourite collaboration just because I love it so much. So it's always the best collaboration, the ones that you already talk about organically already, I think. What was your favourite collaboration?
I must say that's really cool. I mean, I'm on Vinted quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I was on Vinted like last night. Somehow I always end up on Vinted. So congrats on that, because I think that's really cool. I think the two that come to mind is Sony and Artlist. So I use Sony cameras, so being able to, I've done now, I think, my 5th project in 13 months. So that has been really nice because, as you said, I also enjoy working with brands that feel genuine.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to get reached out by a brand that I basically use, and also like a brand that has helped me turn this into a full-time career.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that was like a little bit of like a bigger one for me. And then Artlist, which is a platform where you can get like music and sound effects. That was really cool because that was like the first like Instagram reel that kind of did well for me.
Oh, amazing.
And I was like, oh wait, I'm like an influencer now. Am I like an official like content creator? So that has felt really nice. Yeah. Do you prefer complete creative freedom or a big budget?
I mean, I like both, preferably. Would be the answer.
Just give me both
Give
at the
me
same
both.
time. Yeah.
I think probably big budget.
Yeah.
Because then it allows me to have creative freedom in the sense that I can afford to do more.
Yes.
Even if they're strict, I still feel like I can put more into it because of the budget. I'm able to buy the things necessary to make a really great piece of content.
I feel exactly the same. Because
Perfect.
I was thinking, and yeah, it's amazing, I guess, when a brand comes to you and they want exactly what they see on your page, which, let's say it's creative and it's something you put out because you want to be hired for that work. But I think sometimes with big budgets, that enables you then to maybe take a deal that is less paid, that is really creative, but because you've earned like really decent money with something that maybe wasn't as creative or something completely like you, I guess, just not taking for granted the money we get, because we still kind of like do something related to content either way. But I guess, look, both feel good, right?
Yeah, so, both is amazing.
Exactly, just finding a good balance.
I do think it gives you more freedom to have the budget, and even if it's something strict, you can still have some kind of creativity.
Yes, at least a little bit, I'm guessing, because ultimately they're speaking to you and they want at least something, right?
But it does make me sad to be like, getting more money means more freedom, and I don't like saying that, but it does mean that you're able to do other things as well. So.
I couldn't agree more.
Would you prefer a tight turnaround or delayed payments?
No one likes delayed payments, right? You know what? As someone that, a little problem I find with myself is that sometimes when it comes to working for brands, like, I'm very serious and I always want to like do the best job ever.
Yeah.
So sometimes having a tight turnaround means that I won't procrastinate, and I actually like that. So I would definitely pick tight turnaround, because sometimes it happened that brands wanted something in, like, let's say projects for Sony are always like on a larger scale. And I think like I find out about a project and then it happens in 2 months, and waiting for that and having it constantly on your mind, no good.
I completely agree. I think tight turnaround, I'm exactly the same as you. Sometimes I like not having to procrastinate, and I'm like, okay, I've got something to do, I've got to do it now, I've got to make it work because it's a job that's come in. And then it's like, then you get paid quicker because it was a last minute job, and then you send an invoice and it's like, oh, it's extra bit of money that I wasn't even accounting for because it was like so quickly, because no one likes delayed payments.
And I also sometimes feel like maybe it goes kind of well with each other, because if you do a really good job and you like have a tight turnaround and you're really like enthusiastic about the job, then maybe they'll pay you even sooner, because everything was done fast, and people want everything done really fast.
I also find that I do ask for more money if it's a tight turnaround because of the inconvenience they're giving me. So it's more money. So more money versus getting paid late.
Yes, and I think that's a great tip you just gave. If someone does ask for a tight turnaround, it's just, even if it's a couple of £100 more, very easy to just get a little bit more money.
Yeah, if they're going out of the way to ask something super last minute, like, well,
you can ask.
What's a couple £100?
Exactly.
Edit on your laptop or edit on your phone?
A bit of a perfectionist, so laptop, because I can go like frame by frame, and I think it's I perform better, because I feel like with phones, you have some really incredible apps these days, and it's great. I think for stories it's great. I'm a little bit picky with what goes on my feed, but I also think with phones, get very distracted. So if I'm on my phone, I kind of think like I'm on my phone almost to procrastinate more than edit. So I guess it would be a laptop for me. What about you?
Mine's also a laptop. Kind of controversially as like a fashion creator, because most people would use like actual apps and stuff because there's so much you can do now, but I don't have enough space on my phone. I need to transfer most of it over and edit on software, and I feel like I have more control. It's better with the subtitles are better, I have more font options, I can do cool cutaways, I can add sound effects. Like, you can do it on the apps, but it's a bit clunky, it's not quite there yet, and I just don't have space. And it's also just more seamless to do something on your laptop. Doing it on your phone, it's a tiny screen to edit something to like it's like 0.01, and every frame is so difficult. It's just not seamless whatsoever. So I'm so much more of a laptop person.
That's true. Just before this question, I guess, do you film mostly with a camera or a phone?
I film mostly with my phone.
Okay. Yeah. So what's the best editing software, the best editing app or software, and why?
I am a fan of Premiere Pro. I do also have Final Cut Pro. But I do think Premiere Pro is just a bit more user-friendly. And I also have the Adobe Suite, so it kind of just makes sense to me. I did go through a phase of loving Final Cut, but Premiere I just feel like is a bit more seamless. And then for apps on my phone, CapCut is good. It is really good for Reels and stuff, but I also think InShot's actually pretty good.
I love InShot. I have InShot. And I think it's like £12 a year.
Yeah,
and it's like really such cheap. An incredible investment.
It has like really good filters, and it just has really good things that CapCut doesn't quite have. And CapCut is a bit confusing to me at times. They try and do everything, and I'm like, I just want the simple stuff.
Simple stuff.
Yeah. Do you prefer shooting S-Log or Rec 709?
Yes. So I prefer shooting S-Log. It's almost like, for anyone maybe that's watching and doesn't know, it's almost like if you shoot let's say photos raw or JPEG. So
right, yeah.
S-Log means shouldn't, let's say raw. So it just gives you more flexibility, so you don't lose like, so you keep the highlights and you can play a little bit more with colors. So I'm a big fan of a color grading process. So for me it's S-Log. Yeah. Okay. So smartphone or mirrorless camera, DSLR.
Oh, I do like both, but for different reasons. I think smartphone, I just like, it's like quick and easy, and you can obviously shoot a few stories here, you can even do reels and stuff on it, but having a mirrorless or like even just like a Canon G7X kind of vibe is really great for like flash pictures. They look really great on holiday, and if you're doing a little cheeky vlog, or you want something to be a little bit high quality, or sometimes the lighting is just a bit better if you have a mirrorless or your little Canon. I like them both for like different reasons, but I think I probably use my smartphone more because I always have it on me, whereas I do find it a bit of effort having to pack an extra camera because I'm lazy and my bag's not big enough. So
yes, time to upgrade the bag. Thrift maybe something really good.
You kind of answered it earlier, but color grade or straight from the camera?
Color grade all the way. I think personally, I think a lot of things happen in the edit. Sometimes you can take a boring video, I don't know, go viral maybe. You add a hook, you add like bunch of like dynamic text and stuff. So I think the same with coloring. You know, sometimes I watch certain videos or Netflix series because I like the colors so much, right? So definitely that.
I love that.
Long form or short form?
Short form, I think, but I do like long form. Like I'm a big lover of like visual podcasts on YouTube. Like,
do you make YouTube videos?
I don't. But I have done in the past, like back in the day, and I would like to do more long form because I like watching it myself, but I just think at the moment short form is king, and it's not that I don't think long form isn't good, but just for my own growth and the things that I also enjoy, for me short form is like the thing at the moment. I do think that will change. I think especially even TikTok, even though that was quite short form, like a lot of long stuff does really well on that, and they try to push.
I think they made it now like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah, and they're trying to push vlogs. I think they're trying to like take over YouTube.
But I also think it's, I guess the app works that way, that the more people spend the more time people spend on the app, the better it is for the app. So maybe I think that's why I also increase the time.
So
people are just because
they're kind of rewarding longer videos too as well. So I do think long form will come back to be king.
I think I've already seen it come a little bit. I have a lot of friends who are kind of like going into YouTube, and
that's kind of where I'm at. I want to get back into it. So I do think it's coming back, but at the moment it's short form just because money. It just is.
Money. I guess it's easier to get brand deals. And also I guess YouTube just takes a little bit more time.
It's easy to go viral and get good hits and good engagement and get good following, and then you can progress into doing the long. I feel like short form's good for like engagement followers, that kind of thing. Long form is more like for the heart, like
and
getting
also
to know you and fostering the community and your audience. But so I think they're both good. But what about you? Do you prefer long form or short?
I guess it's a thing now you can find us on Instagram, and then hopefully maybe in a year on YouTube. What's your best kept editing secret/hack?
Oh, I have to think about this one. I don't really feel like it, but I'm not like keeping secrets. I feel like it's something everybody might know.
I guess maybe your best tip.
I think it's not really a secret, but my biggest tip would be really focus in like the first 3 to 5 seconds of a reel, especially on Instagram. I don't think it's as important on TikTok. I feel like you can still show personality and have longer form on TikTok, but if you hook someone in on Instagram reels just like you would with like a YouTube video from Mr. Beast, for instance, is kind of what he always says. It's like, hook everybody in. It's exactly the same for Instagram reels, and the more like text moving onto the screen and a musical effect you have in the background, the better, because it keeps someone to not get bored and be engaged, and do kind of treat it like a shorter form of a YouTube video. And obviously it works on shorts as well, but honestly I genuinely think Instagram reels do really well if they're basically like a really short version of a YouTube video. So that would be like my biggest tip, I think.
I love that. Yeah, I think keeping people engaged.
Yeah,
definitely.
If that's your vibe, though, obviously some people like really moody and aesthetic, and then don't do that.
Exactly.
Don't do that. It's not your vibe. But if you're wanting to go a bit more viral, or you know, kind of the algorithm love you, that's basically the vibe.
I think just for me, because I used to 90% of my income before maybe a year ago came from editing. which is great because I think like you kind of get to keep all the money because you don't go anywhere and you just sit at your computer and edit. Whereas as soon as you get budgets for like reels or things, you realize, especially filming in London, there's so much money that goes into like just food, travel, like paying other people. But I'd say for me, shortcuts because they literally speed up the editing process so much, and you don't have to like think about like cutting and it's shortcuts.
I need to get on this with shortcuts.
I'll send you mine.
Bad. Oh yes, please do. Please do. I need to get on it because I know that it's like
it's gonna change.
It's the key to like change your life and do things in like 2 seconds.
Yes, exactly.
I take ages to do it, and there's no reason.
Exactly. That's why shortcuts are there.
Yeah. If you had to lose one piece of your kit, for example, tripod, camera, laptop, phone, what would it be and why?
So it's really difficult one to edit to think about because I think everything is so connected. So like you need a camera and a lens and an SD card and a battery and a microphone. But I think for me, so I just recently, like a month ago, I picked up like shooting on a gimbal again, which I would always shoot just handheld.
Oh yeah.
Literally my whole life. So I would just say I've done well enough without a gimbal, so I could definitely live without it more. I would miss it now, knowing how to use it properly, but gimbal I don't think is necessary because it's also okay if you have more of like a shaky, like a more natural feel to the image.
Oh yeah,
so,
I love that. Yeah.
If you could get rid of one platform, which one would you be willing to lose?
X. It's
I,
basically just
you
like
know what, it took
anyway.
me a moment.
Who
X was
even
like, what do you
uses it?
Yeah.
No. And maybe even then, if we were to be like, well, we really use, not that people don't use it, but like, I wouldn't say creators really regularly use it. Maybe Threads, because I feel like, do you actually ever go on Threads?
No.
Because
I deleted the app.
No,
the week after,
well,
I literally like just made my username so I can have my name everywhere.
Yeah.
Or I think it's already given because it's through Instagram.
It's
so yeah,
yeah,
I tried it. I was like, no, just another app for me to scroll.
Because it is, I guess it is Instagram, but it's not Instagram because it's kind of connected. So it is a different app. But basically, what I've seen when I go on Threads is you can't really search for stuff really. So you're kind of following the same people that you follow on Instagram. So all I see on Threads is just like influencers and content creators like constantly talking about the industry, and that can be helpful.
Yeah.
But I don't.
I think a lot of people complain.
Yeah, it's. Exactly, it's complaining, which I just kind of don't. I can't be bothered to deal with it.
Instagram algorithm, and they're talking about it on Threads, and it's just like, you're choosing to be here.
Honestly, all I see on Threads is people talking about the algorithm, and I guess a few of them it's fine. You're like, oh yeah, that's fair, and then you're like, oh my god, that's all people talk about. So I'd get rid of that for sure.
Exactly.
I can't be dealing with it anymore.
But I also think it's so actually like the concept, everything is basically the same as Twitter, X. So once you have like an OG app. Yeah. It's hard to now it's like I think they tried to do Vero, which was for photographers, like another version where, let's say, followers wouldn't matter. But Instagram is just OG, so like it was hard for people to switch to a different app just to post their photography work because if you grow on that app, like no one would really care, but if you have like followers on Instagram, people will be like, more impressed, I guess.
think it is hard to get a new app getting out there now, I think for sure.
Same for me though. If I was to answer this.
Also, like, what do you think about Be Real?
I had it for a couple of months, and then I deleted it because, as I said, I think because my work, like all my basically income comes from Instagram. I do spend a lot of time on it, and if honestly, if I could delete Instagram, I would, but of course I can't because of literally that's where my career is. So when it came to Be Real, I was like, no, because what I started doing, I started really complicating my B-reels. So I would try to like take a selfie, put the phone somewhere and run really far, so I could be like really far
Which
to have
like
a cool effect.
Which is like the whole opposite of Be Real, like
it's
just like really quick in the moment. You're like, but everyone's going to be doing that. I'm a photographer. I need to think outside the box, and that's like not the point of the app.
It was too much.
I honestly downloaded it. I never used it, still don't use it, but I liked getting the notifications that when everyone else would get it. So I'd be like, that's why everyone's doing it at the same time. And I found that fascinating, but I've actually never posted on it ever. Because I don't have anything interesting to post because it's too
just that computer editing.
Honestly, it would just be that most of the time because that's all I do. So
that's true. Okay, the creator and the strategy. So, what are some challenges you face as a creator?
I feel like there's lots of challenges. I think a big one is to feel like you're like innovating and standing out from the crowd, because
Yes.
it's such a saturated market now. And I started when there was like 10 of us. And
Yeah.
that's not even an exaggeration.
Yeah.
There was not many
Yeah.
people doing it. And now there's like, it feels like 10 million. There's like, everybody is an influencer, it feels like, in some capacity. Like, you have a reel go viral on TikTok, you're like, guys, I've made it.
Yeah.
I'm going to start posting now.
Yeah.
And you can, and that's the great thing. It means anybody can do it. It also means everybody's doing it. So I think being innovative and standing out and making sure that you kind of are still relevant. And I don't want that to sound horrible, because it makes me feel so cringy thinking about saying that word, because obviously it's not about whether you're being relevant or irrelevant. I feel like if you create good content, that should be what matters. But unfortunately, I don't feel like that is what matters. I feel like you being relevant and on the trends and being innovative is what kind of keeps you going, and that's sad, but I feel like that's the biggest thing that I struggle with as a creator.
I feel exactly the same, and I think that's why when I kind of started thinking more about what content I want to create, I realized that as individuals, I think what makes us unique is just our personality and our experience. So I decided to start talking in front of the camera more with like B-roll, because I realized that it's really hard to make something that hasn't been done before, as you said, or to stand out. So I was like, if I can incorporate my personality with making like a really good edit, that maybe separates me a little bit more, because like, as I said, like every individual is different. But yes, definitely it's always like feeling maybe like you're not creating good enough content, because like every video kind of slaps at this point. Like you can buy like a preset, you can buy a lot, you can do like cool audio, like, and like a video is already good enough. Whereas maybe even a few years ago, it wasn't that easy to create a good video.
Do you feel like it's hard because anybody can get like kind of a good camera now? Like back in the day, it was like, well, you
even
have
the
to
phones, right?
So back in the day, you'd kind of have to invest and be really serious about photography and maybe get an SLR camera. But now it's like, well, anybody can. Doesn't mean that anybody's good. I'm saying that anybody can have, with all these different options of helping. So phone has a good camera and stuff. Do you feel like
but
it's
it
hard
is
with
very
that
nice that it's actually now so accessible as well.
Yes, I agree.
Because I feel like I sometimes get asked like, oh, like, you know, from people that want to start the journey. And the worst thing would be to say to someone, you need a camera.
Yes.
Right? Whereas now, like with different kind of phones that are coming out, it's some are even better than a camera. So I actually really enjoyed it. It's that accessible. But that just means that as a creator, you need to, it's a little bit more competitive. But I think that's okay, because I think in some ways competition makes you think out of the box and makes you better.
I agree.
So yeah.
1000%. I love that. Totally
I love that too.
What are some of your techniques for growing and engaging with your audience?
So, as I said, I mean, for growing, I would say, I think just in general, anytime I create content, I want to put out the work I want to be hired for. So just putting out content that is true to me and what I want to do. And I also think I see it more as like a long-term thing. So I don't know. I've always had this thing that I wanted to do a TED Talk. I don't know why.
I
don't know on what topic.
I could totally see you doing a TED Talk, 1000%.
I just think it like be interesting. So sometimes when I do think about what I'm doing right now, maybe me putting myself in front of the camera is maybe has something to relate with what I want to do in the future. So not just kind of like. And also I think, especially when it comes to social media, because it's kind of like a scrolling app, I mean, if I asked you maybe now, like, what was the third reel you saw, like, the last third reel you saw, you wouldn't remember, because it's just like we just consume, right? So I think for growing, trying to make something that, I guess there's a quote, like, it's not what you do, it's how you make people feel. I really try to go by that quote, because if you make someone feel a type of way, they might think about that video more. That's why I think maybe YouTube is a good way to do it, because someone doesn't invest 7 seconds of their time into your quick short form video, they might invest 7 minutes. And you're more likely to leave an impact. And I guess with engaging, I love to reply to every single person. Every single post, everything I reply to. I think if someone's willing to take the time out of their day to say something about my content or message me, I want to do the same. What about you? What's some of your techniques for growing and engaging with your audience?
I feel like I've quite niched down, and that's when I saw the most growth, because I felt like it's a bit scary to niche down, because you feel like it's less brand friendly, but actually it means that you grow more because people know where you stand. I now feel like I'm less of just like, oh, it's just a fashion influencer. Because there's so many of those, right? That's not unique. And yes, I'm a unique person, but unless you have like a very specific style, or you just hit with like kind of this kind of, I guess, a Molly May effect of people where it's like, she dresses in a way that everybody kind of likes. No one's going to be like, that's really awful, you're not too controversial kind of thing. I basically niched down, and I feel like that's when I grew the most, because it was something that was so, that people knew what they were getting with following me. It was very, okay, she's going to talk about thrifting and charity shops and sustainable fashion. And I think that was where a lot of my growth came from. And I also think giving really good videos and kind of like carousel posts that are really informative do really well for the algorithm. So if I do a reel where I'm talking about my favourite charity shops in London, that gets so many saves, because obviously people are saving it for when they get to London.
It's kind of crazy sometimes looking at the insights, right?
It's really wild.
Do you maybe remember just randomly if there's like what's your most saved post?
I had a viral video on Instagram that got 30 million views.
Jeez.
And I don't even want to know how many saves it got.
Can you check? I want to know.
So it's actually nothing to do with my niche.
Okay.
And I basically had a very, very viral video because I went on a brand trip with Wizz Air, and we went to a unknown destination.
Okay.
And the edit I did for that was just a random edit I did in, honestly, 10 minutes, because I felt like I needed to get something up and all my peers had done something, and I was like, oh, everyone's talking about it. My even better edit that I did sort of on Premiere and stuff still got 1 million views, but pales in comparison to the 30 million quick edit that I threw up with like a really catchy soundtrack and stuff. And it kind of goes to show that you can't really pick which stuff goes viral. It's a good concept, I mean, going to an unknown destination, but so
I love that.
30 million views is
I haven't seen it,
crazy.
but maybe I have.
You honestly, at this point, you probably have.
I probably have.
Or some version of
Otherwise,
it.
you'll show me
because
after.
there were so many other people that went on this trip, and they also all had pretty viral videos. So you've probably seen some version of someone else's.
Wait, now I'm so interested.
I can't wait to show you at the end. You're gonna love it.
Okay, sounds good. Are you with management, or are you an independent creator?
So I'm kind of independent, but I'm open to getting management. I did have management previously. I've kind of been seeing what it's been like as an independent creator, but I have meetings a lot with other managements to see like how they can help me and stuff, and I like both. But I think I'm more teetering towards wanting to get management again. What about you?
Yes, I'm independent, but I'm also kind of keen to have management, but it's also a thing where I enjoy, it's a weird relationship, because I actually enjoy replying to emails, like, you know, I don't mind like writing them and stuff, but then it's also, I guess, when it comes to bigger paid budgets or bigger projects, when you kind of start to think, am I losing money here, or could I be making a lot more? You don't need to like second guess that because someone can do it for you. Whereas if it's just like people just needing some like edits, whatever, like I actually don't mind replying to those. But yes, I definitely am keen to get management. And just a few days ago, I was at an event, and I met someone from a management.
I love
and she's a really cool woman, and we connected. So maybe something goes through with that.
Good luck with that. I think that sounds amazing. But yeah, definitely, for sure, I agree. And also for someone to kind of play the bad guy as well. If you're like wanting to ask for more money, sometimes it can be awkward. And I'm like, I want to ask for more money, but I'd rather someone else do it.
Yeah, exactly. It just feels better, right? Because you're not doing it.
I just want to send you pretty pictures of videos. I don't want to be having to do all the tough guy talk. That's not what I signed up for.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you work on building creator relationships?
So quite a big part of my life is, I don't know, maybe if you've heard, probably not, because we're in a bit of a different niche, but I'm part of the UK shooters team.
I actually have, and I follow you guys. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I used to really be into photography. Not so much now, because it kind of developed, but I do actually follow you guys. Yeah.
That is so cool, because like, what it was like 2 weeks ago, I was filming this video for Sony, and it was a video that had to be shot in London. So I was like literally for like a week just like filming around London, and you know, when you have a camera, like some people come up to you, and there were a few people that came up to me and you know, just like a class, oh, what camera do you shoot on? Oh, that's so cool. And I was like, oh, you're a photographer, a videographer, do you know about UK shooters? And no one knew about it. So it's interesting because you're like in a different niche that you know about it.
I feel like, did you guys do a lot of like viral moments and using a lot of hashtags and reposting other people and stuff?
Well, yeah, we kind of have a community. So we basically host photo and video events around the UK we're doing an 8-day road trip next month with Sony and Adobe. But yes, our page is mainly basically we repost other people's work so they can, you know, get seen and get some sort of exposure.
Yeah, 'cause you guys do really well. That's why I follow, because you showcase some really
is
great
so
stuff.
Sweet. Well, yes, I guess that's a big part of how I build my creator relationships. And just, as I mentioned earlier, just messaging people. And if you go to a new place, don't be afraid to reach out to people. I sometimes am a bit cheeky and I just send a voice note or video, because I think your personality can come across more if you do that. What about yourself? How do you work on building creator relationships?
Is that a question that's like relationships you have with other creators, I'm guessing?
It can be, yes.
I don't know, I guess like I go to events with other creators, and I don't really do collabs with other creators. I guess that was more of a thing back in the day. But I'm like friendly with other creators, and I go to events and say hi, and it's always nice to chat. I also I do generally have a very open policy with other creators. First of all, loads of them are on my close friends list, so I'll always be posted behind the scenes of like, hey guys, you guys going to this event, or this thing happened to me. But I have this real open policy on my kind of Instagram stories where I say like any creator can reach out to me for like advice on growing, because I recently grew quite quickly and I had loads of tips and stuff. So, and I've had lots of back and forth where we send like voice notes and they ask me for advice. Just like other friends that are influencers in the field that have kind of been like, I feel really stagnant and like I'm not really growing anymore. Like, have you got any tips? I've noticed you grew. And I'm so pro helping other people with all the tips.
It's a really nice feeling actually, because sometimes I feel I also sometimes get reached out and people almost sometimes say, hey, sorry to bother, but to me it's some sort of privilege that someone can ask me for advice or feel that they can ask me for advice. So yes. That's I also sometimes have calls with people that I don't charge for, because I just feel that some people, as you said, are really stuck, and I would feel really bad for charging someone to just give them a little bit of motivation that they need.
Yeah, I think it's a motivation thing for sure. And also like it's good karma, it comes back around. If you do something good for someone else, you know, it will come back to you. And if you hand out favours to the people without expecting anything back, usually it does just come back around, because it's karma. So
I couldn't agree more.
Karma.
Yes. Do you think you have a healthy relationship with social media?
I don't think it's like unhealthy. I think it's just I don't think social media for anybody is healthy. So I'm not going to be like, because I'm an influencer, it's super unhealthy.
Yeah.
Because even if I wasn't an influencer, I still think I wouldn't have a healthy relationship. But I think for an influencer, you'd be surprised at how healthy I treat social media. I
need tips.
Well, basically, because I've been doing it for so long, I've gone through every stage of like, all my followers mean everything to me. Why is this person getting these jobs and I'm not, the jealousy and the like comparison. I've been through that over and over again, because I started so young that I think I just have such a thick skin now that nothing bothers me now. No one could say anything to me that would bother me. I could become irrelevant and it wouldn't bother me, because I've been there where I wasn't growing for so long. Like, honestly, I've been through so much. The only thing I haven't been through is like a huge mass cancellation.
Yes. That
probably would bother me, and I wouldn't want that to happen.
Have you ever, maybe, like, do you remember if you ever got a comment that kind of touched you? You're like, oh, fuck, that is actually, like, I'm thinking about this now as I'm, like, cooking or something.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you can get, like, personal ones, but then I'm like, but you actually don't know me. And then, obviously, with the recent viral video, I had absolutely
So how much did you grow? You have around 90, 100k?
Almost at 100k, and I've basically doubled since November, I think. So I was stagnant at 50 for like,
and how
years.
Did you get to 50? Was it also like a reel or something, or was it just like constant work throughout all the years you've been?
A very, very strategic planning on my part. Everything was done super strategically, and it was just a reels focused strategy, and found my niche and just absolutely went for it. Yeah, it was like, but I make it look like it's not strategic.
Of course.
Yeah.
So it comes across.
The nice answer to the people is like, not on here would be, oh yeah, just posting passionately. But the real answer is like so
grinding.
Much analytics. Grinding analytics, looking at what worked and not doing it again. Looking at what worked and doing it again. Yeah.
Because I think as much as like, I think that's one thing that normally some people forget, is that although we're creators and we do, let's say, what we love, and it's creative, it's also business. Like, if you want to have a successful freelance business, you do need to look at your analytics and maybe sometimes say, haven't done this the best, and not to like put yourself down, but just to be realistic and get better.
I also think we're embarrassed to try hard, because if we fail, it's embarrassing, especially on social media. Like, imagine trying hard, being on camera and doing something and feeling like people are laughing at you, and I honestly don't care, because it has paid off, which is nice.
Yeah.
But even if it didn't, I've been in the space for so long that I've done so many things and failed. I've got so many jobs I wanted that didn't go well, or they picked up. Like, honestly, I've had so many
But that's
no's.
all the experience.
Yeah,
right?
I've had
you need to go
experience.
through these things. Yeah.
It's honestly experience that's made me just have that healthy separation of like, who I am on social media isn't me as a person. If someone leaves a comment, you actually don't know me.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't bother me. It bothered me more if it was someone I knew that said something about me than if someone on social media. And I don't equate...
Oh, that would have been horrible.
I know.
Like, yo, we went to school together.
I
What
know,
do you mean?
literally.
Yeah.
And I don't equate like followers and likes and all that jazz to my self-worth, because I've been in it for so long where I've had the good and the bad, that I've had to build up this confidence and be like, it actually doesn't matter. Obviously, you do feel good when you have a good run, but equally when you have a bad run, it's like, well, I still have a life outside of this. This isn't my life. Like, I still have all these great things going on outside of it. So,
yeah, that's true.
Do you think you have a healthy relationship with social media?
I'm barely on TikTok. Don't really. I just kind of like, I make all my content for Reels and then I just post it on TikTok.
Yes.
Close the app, that's all, just so I feel like I'm
Post
doing
and
something more.
Yeah.
But I do spend quite a bit of time on Instagram. As I said, like, if I could delete it, I would, because the idea of actually not like scrolling is nice, but then I also love seeing my friends' work and what like my friends are up to. I wouldn't say it's the best, because I do like, you know, it's a thing where you just find yourself, I don't know, you cook, you go to the toilet, or you're always on your phone.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I could say, and I could talk here how I have, and but I don't. I mean, I scroll a lot, and I find myself sometimes just, yesterday I was editing a vlog, and I had my phone next to me, and that was just the vlog that could have been done in an hour was done probably in 3 hours. So it's reminding myself to maybe leave my phone in a different room. Like, I have a really, really old phone that like batteries level is like 73, which means that basically you're an hour on your phone and it gets like, you know, the battery is done. And I literally don't want to upgrade my phone because I feel like I would spend more time on my phone.
Right, interesting. That's kind of smart though.
Yeah, just reality.
Do you find that you, in terms of like unhealthy on social media, do you find that you compare yourself to a lot of other people in an unhealthy way?
No, I don't think.
That's good.
I think it's really interesting. So maybe a few years ago, I would say, as women, females, however you want to say, I don't think we had the opportunity to have. Maybe we didn't get as much opportunities. And I feel like right now certain brands and clients are turning more into bringing like LGBTQ community or more women involved in the brands. So I wish I had more women friends, but being one that where I'm most surrounded by guys, I feel like that already makes me a little bit unique. So there are certain things that helps with not comparing yourself. Yeah. Because maybe I came across a few weeks ago across this really cool like women creator from the US. I was like, oh my god, you have the coolest videos. But that made me really excited.
I love that.
It didn't feel like, no, because that
yeah.
just means that like maybe if we meet up, I'll get to make another friend, and we can learn from each other.
And I love seeing other people's content. I don't like seeing it as comparing. I go, I love elements of what they do. Yes. How can I kind of do that? Because I love it, but in my own way that works in the way that I do things. Obviously not copying, but like taking inspiration of the things you like. Like, I love how they do the short edit like this, or I really like the topics they cover on this, and it really, like, taking that as inspiration rather than making you insecure. I think that is very healthy, actually. So I love that.
Mic drop. We can't drop the mic drop. So, luxury paint DIY. Aim. A leading paint brand wants to encourage homeowners to unleash their creativity as they anticipate the summer months through the power of color. Spruce up your home with a DIY project using the brand's luxury paint range. The brand has a tight turnaround for this campaign, 14 days. So, concept examples, easy and quick DIY upcycle project, or transform your home with a whole room makeover. Jesus, long time to work. 14 days. Deliverables, 1 Instagram reel, paid usage 30 days on Instagram. So tell me what would this be, and then as a bonus, if you don't mind sharing, what, let's say, would you charge for this campaign? If it went, I guess, on your Instagram as well.
So it's really funny because I actually kind of did something like this recently. So I basically did a makeover in a small bathroom we have in our house. So we did a really crazy funky wall.
So cool.
See? So it was a really crazy
So
wallpaper.
cool.
But then the colour we used was this really like amazing electric blue by a luxury paint brand. And I upcycled an old vintage mirror. And I did a poll on my Instagram stories to get people involved and was like, should I paint this mirror? And the majority said no.
So you did it.
But I did it anyway, and people loved it. And I was kind of like, this is your sign not to listen to people, kind of all over the reel to kind of get the hook. And we painted like some shelves and stuff with this paint as well. And yes, I kind of would do something similar, maybe to the other bathroom, because it did so well. Because I think it ain't broke, don't fix it, but do a little bit of a spin. And also the brand really liked it. And it wasn't a paid campaign, it was a gifted campaign. So I'm actually not sure I would.
So let's say for this, let's say if you did, so you have 14 days to deliver the video.
Yeah.
So let's say you do another like bathroom makeover. Or maybe like So one Instagram reel, what would you charge for the same concept that you did, but if it was paid for a certain brand in 14 days?
I honestly don't know. That's the honest answer, because I genuinely don't know what I should be charging for something like that, because it's outside of my niche. I'd have to look at like the brand.
I guess you could charge more because it's outside of your niche. So that hey, if you want me to do something that's not really, I want to make money on it.
It also depends on the paint brand, right? Because if they're a really established one, or
100K on Instagram.
I don't know. It's like $2,000, $2,500 maybe.
That's good for
if it's like a tight turnaround as well, for sure.
Maybe you can add a little bit more.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
I think so.
I'm being paid 2.5, whatever it is for a reel. I think it's a privilege.
To renovate my bathroom.
Yeah. You can make your bathroom look really cool and you get paid. Give me a better scenario.
I feel like you're making me feel like I need to actually do that for my next bathroom now. Screw gifted. Pay me to do the next one. Because actually the video, I did like 3 videos and they did really well, so.
Amazing.
I
guess if you did that for a brand and it performed well, which normally I'm not into makeovers, but I would still watch them because we like seeing before and after.
Oh,
right?
Everyone loves
following
before
someone's
and after.
process.
Yeah.
So to be fair, if you're able to get a brand on board and it performs well, they might hire you for more jobs.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
I think it actually. Wait, did we just get like a really cool?
Yeah, I feel like I need to do that.
Yeah, perfect.
Thanks for the inspiration.
No worries. Thanks to them. Okay.
This is streaming device top 3. The aim is to drive awareness, attribution, and conversation for a range of key TV shows on streaming service that you can simply plug into your TV and play. The brand wants you to communicate it has content for everyone across entertainment, sports, and cinema, and mention your 3 favorite shows during the video in an authentic way. Concept examples are a day in life vlog, ending the night in watching your favorite shows, or camera-facing content talking through the best shows and the streaming device has to offer. And the deliverables are 1 Instagram reel. And what would you charge for the campaign?
Is there a turnaround or not? No.
No turnaround.
Yeah, so I think as you mentioned, I would definitely do a day in the life. So I would probably do a process of just like how I go about my day, and then maybe at the end of the time when you finish work, you would want to watch something, which I genuinely do. Just started a new series yesterday. So the concept would be around that.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like that's something probably that would be also pretty on brand in some ways with me, because you can sometimes like, depends on the, I don't know. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I think for something like this, so deliverables, I would definitely pick Instagram Reels, because that's where all my audience is. I barely post on TikTok. I also think on YouTube, I wouldn't want to really involve brands too much on my YouTube, because then it just becomes another platform where you, like, I don't know. So I think maybe for 2 Instagram Reels, I'm guessing because it's a streaming platform, they make a lot of money, right?
You do have to think about who it is, you know?
Yeah,
you're like, well,
exactly.
If you're a little small brand, it's very different to if you're a big brand.
But I think I would be happy with maybe like 3.5 for a reel. So maybe like 6.5K. And then it just depends maybe if they want to use it on their socials.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then paid usage and stuff. But Yeah, that's something I would like. But I also like if they said like we want 2.5K, I'd be still down to do that. But I definitely, you always have to go a little bit higher because normally they will bring it down at least 10%. So you might as well, you know.
And also it's important, I think, as well, because like the content you do, because you're obviously a photographer as well, it's very high quality, and I think you're also paying for like the high quality that they can use across. They'll want to use that and get usage. So whereas I think it's a little bit different when you're, depending on the kind of like fashion influence you are, a lot of it can be just like phone videos, which are kind of just like quick and more like personality based, and it's not really the high quality in production that I think maybe you would produce.
But I enjoy actually doing the whole production.
But I think you definitely should charge more for that, because obviously the production and the expertise you have in producing that, you can charge more for that.
I like your thinking. Amazing. Money Talk segment 4.
What is your highest paid deal?
Interesting. So I think when it comes to like highest paid deal, there's certain things that, let's say I did a project that it was like around £10,000, but in reality, like that project took me quite a bit of time to make. So in terms of like, I remember one time, that was like 2 years ago when I was doing mostly video editing. There was this company that I've been working with, and they reached out through WhatsApp and were like, hey, we need like, we need this turnaround in an hour and a half. We just need captions and grade on the video. We'll pay you £1,000. So it took me probably an hour to do and be paid, and I was paid the same day.
Obsessed.
Right? So it was a grand job, but it was done in like an hour. Let's say 15 more minutes to download and send the footage. So when you kind of like think of what's the most paid, sometimes certain things can...
Right.
So time-wise, maybe that was like £1,000 in an hour.
No,
that's you know, really wish I had more of that. And yeah, I'm currently talking to a big brand that might be a bit of a life-changing, let's say. So we'll see, maybe in like season 5 or something I'll talk about.
Is that like a long collab kind of
yes,
thing?
it would be like a 1 year kind of thing. So
like an ambassador.
almost like a salary,
Oh, okay, amazing. I love that.
Yeah, we'll see. What about you? What's your highest paid deal?
It's hard to really remember because I've been around for so long. I've just worked with so many different brands. I think probably, I can't remember exactly how much it was, but it was definitely in the like, it was definitely over like £10,000. And it was for a TV advert, which is fair enough because it was on TV. So obviously you have to pay for like usage and all of that, and like the day shoot and everything. So that was a really long time ago. It was me and a bunch of other influencers for Schwarzkopf for hair dyeing. I had to dye my hair as well, and I had
God, that's not a 10 on top.
and I actually had an allergic reaction on the shoot, and it was really bad. So they had to get me a taxi home all the way to Sheffield.
What color did you dye your hair though?
Pardon?
What color did you have to dye?
It was just kind of similar to what I have now. It was just like a blonde kind of vibe, but I think I don't know what, I either had an allergic reaction to their, like, because it was a box dye and I don't use box dye, or it was like a spray they were using or something, but I had a full-on allergic reaction. They had to get me a taxi home because I literally was like, I need to go to the hospital in the morning. Like, I need to go ASAP. I was fine, but I was like, I'm really glad that was my highest paid deal because
it's a good story.
Yeah.
Look at that, a podcast story. Podcast cut down, boom, 9/16, let's go. I love that. What was the lowest deal you've ever taken, and why did you take it?
Probably just like something on Instagram stories for like £100 or something. And maybe because I was like desperate, honestly,
that's okay,
which is fair enough, like maybe like quite a few years ago now, but yeah, probably. And also probably because I liked the brand, so I was like, oh, I'm getting paid for something I already really like, or it was like an expensive product, so you're kind of like, well, the product's worth like £500, so
in exchange for like,
I feel like it was one of those situations, so I was like, I'm not doing it for the money, but like a couple £100's like fine. What about you? What was the lowest deal you've ever taken, and why did you take it?
You know, I mean, when it comes to like, okay, yes, I have a good story because,
so
I moved to London a little bit over 3 years ago from Slovenia. I was 19, and I guess when I moved here, so that was like December 2020, it was still locked down and all those things, right? So my dream of thinking what London's gonna be for me was exactly not what I envisioned, right? So you basically had to be inside, and like if you went out, like maybe you'd get fined. So I was scared. So I think a month into living in London, I created Upwork, which is like a Fiverr, and I just put some of my work there, and this person reached out to me and said if I was to want to shoot a proposal. Oh God! So just the first like propose. It's so stressful, right? Because you're just hoping first that the person says yes. And luckily, so they wanted raw images, but I just remember we went somewhere. I didn't. So it was a 50. I think it was 40 pounds. So what I did was I really wanted. That was at a time when I didn't have any job, so that was my first ever job in London. So I asked them if they can pay like 20 pounds or 50% of the job through Upwork, and then 50% just to me, right?
Nice.
So something didn't go through with Upwork, ended up getting paid 20 pounds, which is not their fault. And it was a proposal, it was really long. I had to go to like zone 5 or 6 on the other side of London. I think it was somewhere in North London. At the time I was living in West London. So I didn't charge for like travel expenses. So maybe I got £4 out of that job. And yeah, so that was definitely. And I remember like when I got reached out, I just looked at my friend, and I think at the time I was just like, it was a little bit of ego thing. I was like, there's no way I'm doing this. And she was like, oh no, you have to, like, you have no other work coming in, just like do it. So now looking back on 3 years, I think a lot has changed, and maybe it's a good story to tell.
It is a really good story.
You see like the I guess the improvement.
I also think they must have got for photos for an absolute steal, because I bet they were really good.
I know, 20 pounds for a proposal shoot. Wow.
They are loving it. Like, that's a bargain of the century for them. Hats off to them. I mean,
you know what? I hope they have a happy married life now. So.
Yeah, hopefully.
How do you negotiate with brands?
I don't really know. I guess I always go in with a higher fee, because I know I'm going to get negotiated down.
Yes.
And I always try and kind of send over all my analytics and stuff, but also give examples of, like, say it was a beauty brand, I'd be like, well, this is some of my beauty work that I've done, but they're ads. Because I think it's very different to send over across work that you've done that are reels as examples, but not feature ones that actually were ads, because obviously sometimes the stat, not always, but I find the stats can vary differently between like a video that had no ad and a video that had an ad. It's just the way the Instagram works. So I do try and sort of be honest about, like, this is the ad work I've done with this brand, but obviously if it's a high performing one, and be like, well, this could work because this was a really high performing one and it was an ad, and this is how I integrated it, and look how well it did. So don't just go on like just the analytics and stuff, go with how I've approached it and how it actually worked, not just like, you've got X amount of followers and these are what your insights are. I'm like, well, no, this is exactly what I did for this brand, and you're kind of similar, and it could be a similar concept, and this is actually what the results were. So actually pay me what it's worth, because it's worth more than what my followers and my insights are saying, to be honest.
So good. I love that. I think maybe for me it's when it comes to, like, I know if I can provide, like, just in general a whole like good experience with working with a brand, I feel like I can get paid more, because sometimes it's also like they pay for the experience. So if I want to negotiate higher, like, I want to maybe be faster replying or keeping them updated with, like, where am I at with the project, so they feel like they're part of the process, right? So just giving them a good experience. But I think, like, negotiating, you know what, honestly, the biggest thing and help for me, which I think I've been really lucky, is asking my friends as well. So in a way, like, because a lot of my friends do maybe work with similar brands that I would work with, because we're in a similar niche. I think having friends that are willing to give you some sort of direction where what you should be maybe charging, and also I guess based on, as you said, previous work and performance, and you know, sometimes if it's the same brand coming to you more times, like, you can then start charging more each time if it's a successful collaboration. But yes, also, like, you know, it's the way I guess you write the email. It's a lot of things that
there is
maybe
so much that goes into it.
Yeah,
I guess.
Maybe it's saying, like, this is what I want, but also not saying, like, if this is not what I'm getting, like, we won't work together. Being a bit open, but not to the point where they can use you.
Yeah, you definitely have to be tactful, but also, like, firm, because you don't want to have a bad experience yourself, or for them to sort of take advantage of you.
Exactly.
No, I love that you ask your friends. So that's a really good tip.
I think that has been such a big part, and it's really nice. But it's also not everyone will tell you, which I, to a certain extent, understand why. But I think, you know, at the end of the day, if you're actually friends with someone and you can see them succeed, like, that brings me a lot of joy. And if someone can do that for me as well, I think that's actually, like, an actual friendship.
I agree.
Or sometimes, like, I don't know, if someone came to me, I wouldn't, like, tell them a smaller fee, because why would I, when they're my friend and they can like use that money to go travel or to buy new like, you know, there's, you should wish good for your friends, I think.
I think it's important to like be transparent, especially with people in your industry, because then you know that you're not all being taken advantage of.
Of course, you're not gonna go to the most random person and tell them what you're charging, but
no,
like, you know, if there's someone you know or you feel like you can trust, I think it's why not?
For sure. No, I love that.
What's the number one thing you ask brands before you collaborate?
Like a brief, probably.
Yeah, that's right.
A brief, and how strict they are on the brief, and if there's any freedom in it. And the brief is really important, because I need to know also how much time it's going to take, because there can be a big difference with what the fee would be.
Yeah.
If they're like, oh, we just want a casual, like, little mention, or if they're like, we want it to be this whole thing and this is the idea we have. And like, I had one video where they were like, we want you to go out into a charity shop and like go thrifting and then use the product. And I was like, well, that is more than just me sitting down and doing something. I'm having to go out into the world, which is fine, but it's just that's an extra hour or two added on to I guess my fee. So it's really important to get a brief, because I need to know what you want from me and how flexible they're going to be, and also if it will fit, because sometimes the briefs are questionable at times. So I think that's what I asked before even actually collaborating with them.
You gave such a good answer. I don't know what I could say better. I think, yes. I mean, sometimes certain brands will come to you with a brief. So let's say if that's the case, as you said, I think how it's almost like I was just reading Simon Sinek's book. I think it's called Start With Why. And it's that thing where asking, like, you know, why are they doing this campaign, or maybe I guess how or why did they pick you, and how did they see you like do that. And I think my main thing that I always ask is, when do they need it by? Because I feel like sometimes brands don't say that, and then in like the fourth thread, when you've already given your budget, they're going to be like, oh, we need this by then. So
I
so
agree.
Definitely by when, because that gives me an idea of also what I have coming up. So if I have something really big coming up, that will depend on the budget, and also if I even want to do the job. So
that's actually so true. Also,
Deadline.
I agree. They can sometimes hide it in like the contract, and I'm like, could you say in the email when you need it by?
Contract.
You have to look into the contract, and they're like, and we need it by tomorrow. I'm like, why didn't you say that in the email when the deadline was? But no, that's so true. So also you can like look at your schedule of what other things you have coming up. So that's a really great tip.
Do you diversify your income as a creator, and if so, how?
Yeah, so I sell like a lot of vintage clothes online that I thrift.
Do you have like a shop?
Yeah, so I have like a shop. So I think that kind of makes sense with the audience that I have. The things I talk about are thrifting, and obviously then selling it kind of just makes sense.
Yes, of course.
And I always wanted to diversify my income as a creator, just from being online for so long. I just think it was a natural fit. The way it happened was quite organic, especially jumping into this new niche. But I also think you can diversify kind of by doing it across platforms. If you're across so many different platforms and you do really well at them, then that is also kind of diversifying it. So I like to think I'm trying to do that by being on TikTok, and at some point I want to do YouTube this year, and I see that as diversifying, because at some point I would love to, I guess, kind of have a community potentially on YouTube where I could do the whole Patreon thing, because I love that, and I think it's a really smart move. So that is kind of my goal, I think, in terms of diversifying, that I'm looking up to do. But at the moment it's like selling stuff.
That's good.
Like things
and content creation and brand deals and everything.
Yeah, for sure. What about you? Do you diversify your income as a creator?
Well, I think for what I do, it would be very easy to maybe have some sort of like digital products, right? But I also feel like at the point, like, everyone sells presets and lots and transitions, and I think for me, like, yes, I have like presets that I actually don't promote. I haven't promoted in like in a year and a half, because I put them out like 2.5 years ago. So like that style is completely different to what I do now.
Oh yeah.
So I wouldn't want someone to like tag me that they use them, because at this point, like, they're just completely different. Because as a creator, my style is constantly changing, basically. I would say, I mean, in terms of like, I guess you can do like video editing, and then you take on brand deals. Not like complete different income streams, but everything's somehow related to what I do. Maybe sometimes I get hired just to shoot something, or maybe sometimes just to edit. Maybe sometimes, normally my most paid things or my income comes from a brand coming to me. Hey, like, we wanted to maybe promote this product, and I do it in my style, where I talk in front of the camera and have like dynamic footage and stuff. So it is related to everything I do. But it would be nice that at one point I can, well, that's kind of, I have a podcast, and the idea with that podcast, it's called Trust Your Choices.
Amazing.
The way I did the branding and everything is what I wanted to be more like a clothing brand. So I wanted to be like not attached to my name. So the fonts I picked and how I imagine it now, it's like have hats and like actually just like drops, like limited drops.
I love, yeah.
So it's not something like what I would like. It's different. I think it's still creative. So I would maybe be like a creative director and have someone like maybe do cool designs for t-shirts and stuff. Maybe that.
I love that. I think it's good to talk about like what we kind of would envision in the future as well. Like, just like, oh, I'm not doing that right now, but that is kind of what I envision, and we kind of understand that it's important to diversify. I also think the fact you do different things, but it's kind of in the same thing. That is you wearing many hats, so that is you diversifying.
And I think that's okay.
And I think that's really good because it means if one thing is kind of slow, another thing
you
can
be
right. And I think that's
which
really
happens, right? Let's be realistic.
For
I mean,
sure.
Januaries are dry.
January
at least for me.
I know, my birthday's in January, and I'm like, I can't do anything because it's so quiet right now. There's nothing coming in.
What's your final message to content creators or anyone looking to become a content creator?
My biggest thing is to just not care what people think and be really cringy and do all the cringy things that you're like, oh my God, what will people think of me? Who cares what they think of you? And just start. Like, just start. Pick up the camera, talk to it, do a silly little dance, a little challenge. You never know where it'll take you. You have a fun idea to be like, I want to be a creator that talks about gardening or bird watching. Like, there's so many different niches out there. You go and be the best bird watching TikToker out there. Like, just go and do it, and don't care what like your nan says or your cousin or like girl you went to school with that's like hate watching you. People hate watch me all the time, and you know what? I love it. It's an extra view. I don't care. I don't care. You're just contributing to my success, and I don't really care what you think about me because I love what I do. And yes, I just lean into the cringe, and I really used to care about it. I used to really try and be like cool and be like, oh yeah, I'm just effortlessly like an influencer. But now I'm like, no, I work really hard and I'm really strategic about stuff. And yes, I post things that some people find cringy, but I love what I do and I've had success from it, and I love it. And I just think, be authentically you, and if that's a little bit cringe, because you know it does a bit well on social.
I mean, look at Emma Chamberlain. She's like the most successful woman YouTuber, almost influencer, and the reason she was able to reach so many people is because everyone like farts and burps and all these things that she shows in the videos, and I think she was able to connect with so many people who were like, oh, these are the things that I do, whereas other influencers wouldn't show. And I think, I mean, for her, like, it's incredible how much it's paid off. And she used to grind and edit all her videos and all that stuff.
And she would say that too. And she'd be like, I don't really care what people think about me. And she would, like, do vlogs at, like, school and stuff and be like, I don't... And people probably made fun of her, but, like, who's laughing now?
Oh, so many, I'm sure.
Who's laughing now? Like, a momentary, like, mean girl attitude of people saying nasty things about you, or a random person in the street. Like, if you're filming in the street and someone looks at you weird, okay... For like 2 seconds and then they're gone. And you'll never see a cool video. Who cares? Like, might go viral. Like, just kind of be confident and like not care. I think that's like my biggest piece of advice, because that's what I've learned over the past year or two, and it's paid off so much. And also, it's very freeing to really not care what people think about you in not just like your social media life, but your actual life. It's so freeing. It's the best feeling.
I love that.
What is your final message to content creators? Anyone looking to be a content creator?
I've just recently did like my first ever talk. And I had to do like a presentation, and you know, sometimes you kind of want to end your talk with something like this, and the thing I preach is like, put out the work you want to be hired for. Especially with the people that I'm surrounded with. I feel like a lot of people do certain type of content in hopes to go viral or do all those things, but you can tell like it's not what they actually want to do, or if you speak to them you realize they have completely different interests. So for me, it's like, I just want to, like, if there's not a better feeling than a brand coming to you and be like, hey, we love exactly this video you did. Can you do something like this for us?
I love that.
You're going to enjoy the process. You can charge more. Like, everything just kind of like goes so well together. So for me, it's just put out the work you want to be hired for. And if you don't know what that work is, don't put pressure on yourself that you need to have it figured out immediately. Just like create vlogs, cinematic videos, like thrifting, whatever. And then there's going to be something that's going to tick for you.
Yes.
So, and I think it's the same with careers, right? A lot of people put pressure on, it's like, what should I do as my career? What is it like that I'm meant to be doing? And I think in that kind of scenario, you just need to try a bunch of things. And you'll quickly, it's like people. You can like I don't know, meet someone, you realize you don't get on. Cool, I've met them. Now maybe they have a personality trait that I know I don't maybe connect with.
Exactly.
So I won't go into those like situations where those people are.
Because you learn so much
Yeah.
when you try, and even if you fail, that's a really good tip actually. Trying and failing is so important because you learn
almost like
so
eliminating all the things you
much.
don't want to do, and then you'll come to a point where you
There was a
find
point where
something.
I like didn't want to try because I was scared of like trying hard as an influencer. I was like, I'm a cool girl influencer, because I was scared of failing. And now like if I fail, it's just a learning curve of like, okay, well, what did I learn from that? That kind of sucked, that flopped, or like, oh, that was bad for like getting engagement, but it was really good for comments or something. Like, there's always a positive, and even if it isn't necessarily a positive, you have to have the positives, because otherwise, if you only ever have highs, I know it's a really cheesy thing to say, if you only ever have highs, you won't appreciate them because you've never had a low. So I feel like that's the same with social media. Like, definitely you should try and fail, because I think that's really important for growth as well.
Amazing. So, give us the tea. Have you got any future exciting projects coming up?
I don't think so. And if I do, I don't think there's anything I can actually talk about. I think it's confidential.
This is kind of like how it normally is, right?
So unfortunately, that's so boring of me because I love the tea. Just like more stuff, essentially, like lots of really exciting things outside of Instagram. That's the biggest clue I can give, unfortunately, but really exciting. So watch this space.
Amazing.
What about you? Give us the tea. Have you got any future exciting projects coming up?
I think for me, something I'm really looking forward to is doing, as I said, with UK Shooters, we're doing a 8-day road trip.
Amazing.
So we're going to 4 cities hosting events, which is super exciting. So I would say that, and then, as you said, certain things maybe that I can't talk about yet. But yes, I think road trip, because it's crazy that like people, like hundreds of people come to these events just to like, it's nice to see like you being a part of helping like grow or build a community, especially here in the UK. So that just brings me a lot of fulfillment.
For
sure. Yes, that's my main thing. Plug yourself. Where can people find you online?
You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, or at She Wears Fashion.
Amazing.
Plug yourself. Where can people find you online?
Well, Teja Lisjak, my name, everywhere. And then the podcast, Trust Your Choices. So yeah, thank you so much. So, thank you, Creators on Creators, for having me. My name is Teja Lisjak, and you are...
Kavita Donkersley. Make sure you leave us a rating or review on any podcast platform. And if you're watching, drop us a comment and don't forget to subscribe.
Woo! Thank you.
That was so good.